Welcome into the Michigan State Hockey Hub. After it's been quite a while, about a month or so since we last recorded, maybe even longer than that. I don't know. It's probably been longer, but Michigan State season came to an end. Last time we were on, I believe Nate and Jeremy were both on with me talking. So we have Nate back now. So Nate, tell us, are you covering baseball this year, or are you just doing spot games here and there?
Kind of spot games. I'm doing high school baseball, high school girls soccer. I'll do MSU baseball sometimes. I'm still, on the hockey beat as well. So, a lot of stuff still happening in the off season.
Okay, yeah. So that's exactly why we have you on here today is talk about the off season of Michigan State hockey. So first we want to cover the players who have left. We know the seniors who have departed. Let's talk about the transfers. By the way, Jagger Joshua, now playing in the AHL, got in his first fight recently.
Yeah, I
He
saw
was
that.
he was a player that was kind of rumored or discussions of would he come back, would he not come back. Obviously, he is not coming back. Nicholas Mueller, who actually had a fantastic year, led the team in points, 9 goals, 25 assists in 38 games played last year, is coming back. Nate, tell us how big that is. Because to me, that's one of those moves that, like, having a guy with that much experience that can do all of the different things that Mueller can do, like, that is huge for this team going into next year.
100%, and um, not even the on ice production that obviously saw a huge jump with him this past season. But you look at from a leadership standpoint. The guys who are leaving, you lose the Krieger twins who, were monumental in getting guys to buy into what Adam Nightingale and his staff wanted to do. And you lose Miro Muko, a grad guy comes in, he's your captain. You lose Michael Underwood, who is a grad guy who came in, from a winning program. Obviously Jagger's a big loss. Eric Middendorf, another, good locker room leader guy. I think Nico's really just going to take the reins there and be one of the biggest leaders on this team and get a lot of these new guys who are coming in. Maybe, the freshmen, obviously, you'll have to get them to buy in, but then some of these other transfers who came in, maybe from, underperforming, freshman years or, just an underperforming, couple seasons at the school that they were at trying to find a new start. I think his, addition or I guess his just continuance of being at MSU is going to be really big for this team.
Absolutely. So I want to go ahead and see if I can get this to work here. Are you seeing the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sharing screen for those of you on Spotify to pull up last year's stats courtesy of College Hockey News, just to run through here and see which other players have entered the transfer portal. We know Eric Middendorf's gone, senior. You mentioned Miroslav. You mentioned a few others. Jesse Tucker hit the transfer portal as well. He's going to Clarkson. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Player who, his freshman year really was a playmaker at times and a player who I think a lot of people at the time thought, oh, he could take a step forward in scoring as well. Um, I think he's a good player. I think that, just a different style, different coaching may have got him in a situation where, he wasn't seeing the ice as much and it just made sense for him to move on. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think he had, last season he had a handful of games where he was really good on that fourth line, and but I think the writing was on the wall that the staff, they want to get the talent level up, and at the end of the day, I think it came down to, whether Tucker was willing to be a guy who didn't dress very often, and obviously, decided, that wasn't for him, and but I think he found a good home in Clarkson, and he'll be able to produce there.
Yeah, hoping the best for all of these players. Nothing bad to say about any of them. Zach Dubinsky, another guy who joined the show before, um, not a goal scorer, but a player who played a pivotal role, winning faceoffs, was good in his own end as well. A player that I think will be missed. It's probably just a matter of opportunity for him and a matter of kind of seeing if he can reach a different ceiling elsewhere. Pal Connor didn't really get a ton of playing time. AJ Hodges, Kyle Haskins, two guys that played a lot early in their career. As more talent was brought in, they saw more time as healthy scratches. Hodges, 9 games last year. Kyle Haskins, 2 games as well. But the main one, am I missing anybody else that transferred?
Cal Davis also entered the portal,
That's true.
and then Pierce Charleston.
Yeah, that's the one I really want to talk about is Pierce Charleston, who, goaltender, his freshman year played a lot. Um, even started in the Big Ten tournament, isn't that right? And things did not go as planned from there. Saw a big decrease in his playing time. Still a talented player and a player that I think probably has the largest impact of leaving, in my opinion. Simply because, goaltending is, you can never have too many goalies, especially good ones, especially ones with experience. And has he found a new home yet?
No, he is not. Based on my understanding, it came down to, this staff is rolling with Trey Augustine. He's the guy, and it was up to Pierce whether or not he wanted to just be the backup, and in case, hey, if Trey couldn't adapt or wasn't, performing well early on, or if an injury occurred or something, that he would get his opportunity. But ultimately, I think he believes that he's a starting goaltender at the NCAA level, and I'm sure he'll find a home where that's the case.
Yeah, goaltenders are starting to kind of be like quarterbacks. You don't get a chance, and it makes sense. It really does. It's kind of a one-man show at a lot of places, and even ones that use a tandem, it's kind of hard to stand out at times and continue your career post-college without a big sample size. That's just the fact of the matter, and you're able to move around pretty easily now. It's become free agency, so best of luck to Pierce. So what is the plan at goalie? You mentioned Trey Augustine, a USA kid, USA development team, comes over as a true freshman, uber talented, on draft boards, a player with legitimate upside, not just maybe if things go right. Like this is a legit professional hockey player type talent. I assume the plan, as you've already hinted at, is to run with him all year as the number one. Who is going to be the number 2 goalie? How do we see the rest of the goalie room shaking out?
Yeah, I think Trey's going to be the guy from day one, and I think John Morrow will keep that kind of third goalie role, just kind of a reserve, and then most likely the staff will look into a portal to try to find a backup and go from there. But yeah, moving forward, Augustine obviously uber talented, high up on the draft boards in terms of goalie prospects. Probably one of the best goalies to come out of the national team program based, performance based wise. So he's for sure going to be the guy going into next year.
This team in 2022 and early 2023 looked great. New coaching staff, a lot to be excited about. It's kind of like when your baseball team or football team has that like 7-win season, or baseball team like the 78-win season. You're kind of like, they're not there yet, but you can see it. You can see the young core developing. You can see the coaching. Like things are clicking. It takes time. That's what last year was for Michigan State. Heading in to the 2023-2024 season, I think expectations are much higher. I don't think it's you need to win the Big Ten or it's a bust type thing. We are far from that.
Mm-hmm.
Not having a backup goalie right now, it's not like the end of the world. Like there's teams probably that don't have a starting goalie. You know what I mean? But it is a big black hole on this roster, and in a roster that doesn't really have a lot of holes right now. That's the number one in my mind. Obviously, an injury, poor performance. You're just putting a lot of pressure on a very talented freshman to step up and get the job done from day one. Is that the biggest concern with this roster right now, you'd say?
I really wouldn't classify it as that concerning. I think even if this upcoming season, if Augustine struggles a little bit, the staff knows that this is their guy. So, even with the expectation being that, after this season, being so close to the NCAA tournament that, the NCAA tournament is the goal. I think more importantly, it's just going to be another continued just development and get the talent level up to the level of the rest of the Big Ten. And then, from there, then the sky's the limit for the program.
This team on paper is going to be better than last year's team, in my opinion. And I feel like that's probably the opinion of most. You get another year of development for the talented freshman class that we saw coming in to last year. And you saw how talented they were. I mean, Daniel Russell came in as a freshman, second on the team in points with 38 goals, 22 assists. Carson Dorwart shows some scoring touch, 10 goals, 17 assists. And the list goes on. Matt Basgall played a big role as a freshman defenseman as well. Anything from this summer that you've heard about any of the current players? I don't want to talk about transfers yet. I don't want to talk about incoming freshmen. Any current players, any news that you've heard about players taking a step forward, or any interesting notes of any of the current players on the roster and what you think they could provide next year? Any players standing out as somebody who could take a big step? I'm thinking like Victor Hertig, like maybe he finds a new level with more comfort on American ice and in the system.
Yeah, I mean, all the guys they're in the gym constantly and they're putting a lot of work in. One of the names you mentioned, Matt Basgall, I think he really turned it on towards the end of the last year. I thought he was really, really good in that Notre Dame series in the Big Ten tournament. And just thinking of him with either David Gucciardi or Maxim Sturbach, who's freshman potential first round pick coming in, that D pair being the top D pair next year is that's going to be up there towards the top of the Big Ten in terms of defensive pairing, whoever he's paired up with. So I think he's going to take a huge step next year. And then like the three freshman forwards, you mentioned Dorwart and Russell, you add Shouty in there, who's kind of a junkyard dog, and but those three guys, you just hope that they continue that development. There's times that where Daniel Russell looked very, very skilled and looked like one of the best players on the ice. So you just hope that they continue to put the work in and that development hits its ceiling.
Players talk about that jump from year one to year two in college hockey. I know I've talked about it several times on here, and it's one of those kind of cliches almost, I feel like. But the few players that I've talked to and asked them that question, what was the biggest adjustment? All of them mentioned it. So it has to be legitimate. Although it sounds cliche, it's something we continue to mention. It's something that has to be taken seriously. That jump from year one to year two, and it's not just in college hockey, it's across college sports. You often see that. Um, I remember going to college as a freshman, and that year one to year two difference of just being on your own and learning your new routine and everything. So hopefully a big jump. Now, what we want to get into, let's talk about incoming freshmen and transfers. I don't have the list in front of me. There's been a lot of movement, and that's why I brought Nate on, because he writes about all this and he covers all this, so he's going to be able to provide us with great insight on each player. Let's start with the incoming freshmen that we know for sure are going to be here next year. I know that there's some still questions, some maybes out there. We can talk about them once they're official and once they're here. Let's go ahead and talk about the players that we know are coming in as freshmen next year.
Yeah, I think we've touched enough on Augustine. Him being the goalie number one. I mentioned briefly Sturbach. That kid he's crazy talented and super skilled. With the puck on his stick as a D-man, and he just kind of at times watching him in the USHL, he's just kind of he just glides. He kind of has a little bit of that almost. No, I'm not going to compare him to Luke Hughes, but he has some of that where he's so shifty and crafty. When he's got the puck on his stick, I think he's going to be huge for this team. Potential first round pick there. I'm interested to see some of the rest of the guys. You look at Austin Orovets. I think he has a chance to crack that deep pair, maybe the seventh D man. And I'm not sure on Justin Varner, Owen Baker, and those guys. Those might be depth forwards. Coming into their first year. especially with all the transfer forwards that they have coming in. And then, you look at a guy like Gavin O'Connell, who's a late commit, decommitted from Duluth and committed to MSU. And, he's a guy who I think is going to crack the ice right away. I think he's a really skilled forward, and, you'll look for him to produce, early on in his career. And then maybe the most interesting one to me is Tommy Monisto, who had an insane year over in Finland, playing juniors there. He's going to come in, and I'll be really interested to see what he's able to do, in college hockey.
Sorry, Nate. I think you cut out. What was the last name that you mentioned there?
Tommy Monisto,
Okay.
the kid from Finland who
Yeah.
had an incredible season this past year.
Awesome. Yeah. So, scoring touch from freshmen would be great. The first few you mentioned, like Owen Baker, could you see them playing kind of like the way that Gavin Best played this year, where sits in the beginning, fills in with injury, gets a game here and there, can kind of play third, fourth line, whatever it may be, but not really an every Friday, Saturday type player?
I mean, it's obviously early, and I think the health of the team will obviously kind of determine that. But you look last year, I don't think they had a single injury to the forwards.
It was
At all.
incredible.
So yeah, I would expect that. You never know when they come in, they could really make a leap and impress and find earn their way on the ice. But I'd say it's still a little early to tell. But yeah, when you look at maybe those guys, you look at them in their first year as depth pieces and just hope they continue to grow and develop and work their way on the ice later in their career.
Michigan State's done pretty well with health over the past 2 years. Lewandowski had an injury for a little bit, but like all things considered, and when you saw what happened in Michigan last year, at times like Michigan State's been pretty. I don't want to say lucky or prepared. I don't know what the word is, but it probably is just lucky with health overall from their players. So that's definitely great to hear.
I don't know if it's. I mean, the nutrition staff, the training staff. I mean, Will Morlock as the head trainer has done an outstanding job. I think it more speaks to how invested the program is in that kind of stuff and how seriously the guys take their health. And I think it's more that. Obviously, some luck is involved, but
Yeah.
I really think it's just the commitment to the training and the nutrition and everything that goes into it.
I should know this answer, but have you written a feature on that about the training staff for the hockey team?
Clay, man, you're jumping the gun here. I have something coming on that soon, but so not yet. But
Hey, listen, I'm just here to promote your articles, okay? That's all I'm here for, nothing else. But I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength there. That's going to be an interesting read. Be watching out for that, and I'll make sure to put it out there as well once that is posted. Now, the thing that really changes the potential trajectory of this team next year will be the transfers that are coming in. We saw an influx of transfers last year, provided value in different ways. Miroslav had some scoring touch, played a big body on the first role, was a captain. Underwood really stabilized the D at times. And, then you had like Jalen and Dubisky playing bottom six roles and playing them pretty well. With the transfers coming in this year, walk us through who's coming in, what position they play, and what type of role they could provide for Michigan State.
Yeah, so they got at the moment they have 5 currently, 4 forwards and 1 defenseman. You start on defense as a grad transfer, James Crossman from Brown. This past season scored 9 goals, and I think he's going to fill in as a kind of like a Michael Underwood, a grad transfer guy who's going to be steady on the back line, but can maybe provide some offense, probably more so than Underwood did this past year. But I thought that was a pretty good find, for the staff, especially with, they have Hertig and Basgol as freshmen. They have Gucciardi, who's still young. They bring back Nienhuis. Their decor is pretty good. So just, adding one more solid guy, solid, reliable guy on the blue line was good for them. The first forward who came in was Reed Lebster. Obviously, some familiarity there with Jared DeMichael coaching him his first 2 years at UMass. And, as a Grand Rapids kid, had 8 goals and 14 assists last year for UMass. Kind of was up and down, was on their top line for a little bit, then was on their third line. Kind of moved around a little bit, and maybe a down year for UMass hockey, but he's looking for a fresh start here, and I figure him to be kind of in that second, third line mix, along with another guy who comes in as a 4th round draft pick of the Red Wings back in 2020, Red Savage. Kind of went to Miami, hasn't really produced in his first 3 years really there. Kind of struggled, just down 3 years for Miami hockey, but I think this past season was his best statistically. So, you look at him as a guy who, I think the staff can really work with, some familiarity there with Nightingale at the U.S. team. That's where Savage played his juniors. Then I think the biggest and most intriguing guy, just had a feature on him come out a couple days ago, is Isaac Howard. The kid is a 1st-round pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning. One of the highest scoring, national team players, in program history there. Obviously played with Nightingale there in his U18 season. Went to Duluth, and Duluth, another program that just kind of had a down year last year, and he kind of struggled. And I think he just, looked for a fresh start, and it was kind of a match made in heaven with Nightingale taking over here, and obviously has some familiarity with Will Morlock too. So, that was, in talking to him, that was his biggest thing, is he knows that he's going to get taken care of on the ice and off the ice. And I think that's been the biggest selling point for Michigan State as a program, going forward. And then the last guy and the most recent guy is Joey Larson, who at the time was the highest point scorer in the portal. Had a terrific freshman year at Northern Michigan. I think 14 goals and 17 assists. He's another Michigan native, and I think in his case, he's not necessarily looking for a fresh start. I think he's looking for a bigger program to maybe prove himself a little bit, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how he fits in, and if he's able to continue that that kind of offensive pace, going from playing CCHA schools to now playing in the Big Ten.
It's going to be really interesting to see how this lineup shakes out, because they're bringing in a lot of talent, a lot of here's one thing we know, regardless of how it shakes out, the depth improved last year, and it's getting better coming into this upcoming season. And that is the big difference in previous years. Michigan State didn't have the goal scoring and high-end talent that, Minnesota and Michigan have had. But where they've really improved is in depth. And I think that that's really important for a team like Michigan State, who may not have the number 1 overall, the number 2 overall, whatever it may be, draft pick caliber players. Now, we did see them bring in, NHL caliber draft picks and a transfer 1st-round draft pick. Don't get me wrong, they still have good talent, but the depth is improving, and I think that is so big. And we're already seeing the coaching staff paying off. You talked about the relationships that they have had with these players from previous stops, previous engagements, and whatnot. It's already paying off. Of this team so far, is Howard, you think he's a first line guy and kind of a primary scorer? Is that right?
Yeah, I would figure him in the first or second line. I think his potential is, I think he has the potential to be a 50 plus, 60 plus point scorer. Doing both scoring and setting up guys. So, I think he was 5th all time in national team in assists and 8th all time in points. And, he's a really hard worker. And he's the guy I look at and figure that this guy could be, with the right, development. And obviously you trust Nightingale, he put up those numbers under him. So, I think he has the potential to really explode and be one of the Big Ten's best players.
It's too early to do the line chart BS, right?
Yeah. Way too early.
And I'm not going to ask you to do it. I'm not. Trust me. I wouldn't put you on the spot like that. I think I asked you to do that right before the season last year, and you were just like, no, it's not. is not a good activity to do. I was like, okay, yeah, you're probably right. And I'm not going to ask you to do it now, but what I'm saying is there's so many combinations that seem like it could work now. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to load up one line. You don't have to go super top heavy. You don't have to have the lines like we saw with Lewandowski in the past where he kind of carried the offense at times. And there's more balance. There's more options. I just love how it's coming together this year. We're talking about this in April. There's a long way to go and a lot to figure out and a lot that could happen between now and the start of the season. But it's fun. We're all fans, so let's get excited about it. So, Nate, anything else? Tell us what else you have coming out. Come on, give us a tease. Let everyone know where they can find your work, and uh, everybody check out that Isaac Howard feature as well.
I'll only give one line chart prediction, and I think you'll probably see Nico and Jeremy stay together. I thought they had a lot of chemistry, towards the end of the year, and you probably maybe put a forward kind of in that Middendorf build like a Lebster or a Savage, or you can look at Tanner Kelly or Tiernan Chowdy, one of those guys to maybe fill in there. But I think Nico and Jeremy worked really well together towards the end of last year, so I would expect to see them together again. You can find all my stuff at lsj.com. I always post all my stuff on Twitter as well. I'm not going to give too many spoilers about what I got coming up, but there'll still be plenty of hockey coverage throughout the off season. They're having a MUN. The season ticket holders are having a big event over there at MUN right now, so I'm actually going to go head over there pretty soon. Talk a little more hockey on Jack Ebling's show too. So.
Cool.
Yeah, but yeah, just stay tuned. I'll have plenty of hockey stuff to keep you guys satisfied through the off season.
We also post all of Nate's stuff on the Facebook group. For those who do not know, there's a Michigan State Hockey Hub Facebook group. It's a private group. So all you need to do is request to join. The reason why it's private is so you can post and comment without it showing up on your page and annoying all of your friends. So tell your parents who aren't on Twitter. Tell your grandpa who whatever. I noticed the Facebook group. It's funny, Nate. It's everyone on there is 45 or plus. It seems like so. It's a funny mix of people, but they love Michigan State hockey. There's over 700 people in that group talking Michigan State hockey. We post podcasts there. We post articles there from Nate and from anyone else that contributes as well. And that's where I also screenshot all of your tweets. You don't even know this. I screenshot your tweets and just post them as pictures in there with all of the transfer news. So your tweets are making it to MSU Hockey Facebook one way or another.
Hell yeah, brother. Love the support. Thank you. I'll have to hop in there and do an AMA or something for them sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in this week. Make sure to like and subscribe as well. And be on the lookout because right now it's busy season for me with my baseball stuff, but I want to get back into doing this. I have a fun time doing it. So we'll have Nate on again to talk nothing but line chart predictions.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nate. Have a good one.